Hello, thanks for joining us for a very exciting matchup coming up here at our Premier Challenge at Psycho Turtle Collectibles, hosted by Pokemon Labs. Now, I am joined by my co-caster for right now, which is Bidu. However, or Beware, where's Beware? Beware, Haley's got the Beware, but we are going to get into our match with someone you may recognize from this desk. Jesus Coromel, one of our longtime casters, going to be playing against Oscar Gill. You're going to see Jesus on the left, the Cinderace, which is a Pokemon we haven't seen very much of this format, but very exciting to see it in play today. But Cinderace, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Amoonguss, Tornadus Incarnate, Fridruff, and Chien-Pao. While Oscar is going to be on the right with the Urshifu Single Strike, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Tornadus Incarnate, Fluttermane, Fridruff, and Hisuian Arcanine. Now, what's interesting about this team for Jesus is it's a very fast team for the most part. This is a choice Scarf. Urshifu Cinderace is known for being one of the faster fire starters, and of course Chien-Pao, which is the fastest Pokemon in the format without boosts, or at least tied for it. Except unless they're counting Regieleki, but we haven't seen Regieleki very much. But it is definitely the fastest of the commonly used Pokemon. Meanwhile, on the right with Oscar, you're going to see pretty much a mix of offense, defense. It's a kind of a variation of a team we've seen a bit. Usually you have like, it's usually the Flutter plus a fire attacker, whether you're going to go for Hisuian Arcanine, Entei, or Chi-Yu. It's up to you. The Urshifu Single Strike, which is always partnered. You've got Ogerpon for redirection. You have Tornadus for Tailwind. One little difference, though, usually it's a hyper offense team for a draft on Oscar's team, which is good for Trick Room control, speed control. If you want to go for a slower mode, considering what Pokemon you have, you're like, you know what? If the other team's going hyper offense like Jesus, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to go for a Trick Room. If you see opposing Tornadus, it's a good idea for a Trick Room. And also just stops priority, which is nice. We're going to see Hisuian Arcanine lead with that Tornadus, while Cinderace and Tornadus lead on Jesus' side. Okay, so a couple options. First off, this Hisuian Arcanine Terra is grass. That's very important. It also has Intimidate, which Cinderace is not going to be able to avoid. However, it makes up for it because it's got Choice Band. The Tornadus is Covert Cloak on Jesus' side and Oscar's side. So what's interesting about that is Jesus' Tornadus has Leer. That could be very, very useful. It lowers the defense stats, not very common in the format, but it could be very good into this Arcanine slot. However, it's not going to really help against this Tornadus, and this Cinderace is going to have to struggle a little bit against some damage from Tornadus. It's a fragile Pokemon, so Bleak Windstorm, even if it's not super effective, is not going to do a ton. But we're going to see double Tailwinds on both Oscar and Jesus' side. The Cinderace should go first. It goes for a high jump kick. That is going to change it to fighting type. And one hit KO that Arcanine, even after the -1. Cinderace coming out strong. Good news there for Jesus is you now can hit really hard. However, you will get one shot, most likely by a Bleak Windstorm, unless the Cinderace is a little bulk. Ogerpon coming in is a very risky play. I think this is a really safe swap out for Jesus. The question is, what do you have in the back? Obviously, you cannot do much, but you do have a Amoonguss, so that's a really good switch, and you need some bulk. Obviously, this Bleak Windstorm is still looming. However, I think it's still not a great position for Oscar because you've got that Bleak Windstorm on Jesus' side as well, and an Ogerpon that is weak to it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that Terra on Ogerpon right away to not only negate the damage from Bleak Windstorm, but also do a full power IV Cudgel. And, Spiky Shield is also just kind of the play you have to make, knowing that high jump kick is in play. We are going to see a Bleak Windstorm from Oscar's side doing a lot of damage onto the Amoonguss. It was a crit. It was an absolute crit. That's dangerous because that is Jesus' really only bulky Pokemon. It is going to eat that Citrus Berry, so it can recover, but switching into something is going to take a hefty hit. Meanwhile, a Bleak Wind not going to connect the Ogerpon on Oscar's side. Does connect with the Tornadus. Obviously, it can't connect the Ogerpon because it used Spiky Shield. Not terrible. It's still not terrible. However, it's Oscar in a pretty much safer position, if you ask me. I think at this point for Tornadus, you taunt the opposing Tornadus, and Terra. You may have to just Terra Water your Amoonguss if you're Jesus and go for a Spore, because I think the Ogerpon has a really safe, just instant one-hit KO onto really either one of these with a Terra Water. It's going to struggle a little bit against Amoonguss, but it's low enough and it's in a good spot to swap. So, but we're going to see an Ivy Cudgel. No per Terra. The Ivy Cudgel not going to do enough on the Tornadus. That could be very important, but we're going to see Oscar Tornadus outspeed, and that was the crucial moment. If that was a bit of a risky play because Bleak Windstorm has 80% accuracy, but with a double knockout, it's very, very useful to just knock Jesus down to, at this point, a very important play, which is this Cinderace is Choice Band. It's going to have to lock onto a move now. and ride that move until the very, very end, and that is risky. I think Pyro Ball's probably the best, but again, right now, it's a really good spot for Oscar to just Terra into that water type on the Ogerpon. Yeah, it was a real bit of a risky play there, relying on Bleak Windstorm, because if a miss happened, you could get Spored. Could have gotten it if the miss happened on the other Tornadus, then it would have done some really nice damage to put Cinderace and Chen-Pao into a much better spot. But I think right now you just go for Pyro Ball onto Tornadus, and then Chen-Pao's gotta go for the hit onto Ogerpon. It's important to know that Chen-Pao has Ice Spinner, Sucker Punch, and Sacred Sword, so if a Spiky Shield comes out, this thing is going to get its Focus Sash chipped off. And it is Focus Sash oh my gosh, Focus Sash Stellar Terra Chen-Pao. We're going to see the Tornado swap on out. I think regardless, you just got a Pyro Ball into that slot. Whatever it is going to take a hefty amount of damage, including this Urshifu. It is Focus Sash though, but if this goes down to a -1 on the Focus Sash, what's really nice is you can Sucker Punch it before it hits. Terra coming out, Terra Stellar on the Chen-Pao. There is that crown, which was introduced pretty recently to the metagame. But we are going to see a double attack. First off, the Pyro Ball from Cinderace. Connecting with the Ogerpon, one-hit KO. I am shocked we did not see a Terra on that Ogerpon. I thought that was definitely going to come out. And this allows Ice Spinner to connect with this Urshifu. It's going to be close at this point, but Jesus is in a much better position than where he was earlier. The Tailwind is out on both sides. However, it can come back. I don't know if you need it, though. Now, another important piece of information, the Cinderace, it is Libero, or Liberia. Gosh, Libero, I cannot say that. So it's locked on to fire for its type for the rest of the match. Okay, with that in mind, I think Jesus is in a really good spot. A really good spot. I think what you got to do is Pyro Ball, Tornadus, and then just... I think Sucker Punch on Urshifu. Urshifu can definitely get rid of you. Pyro Ball also doesn't have 100% accuracy, so if you're Oscar, I think right now what you do is you Tailwind and... No, you Bleak Wind in close combat or onto the Cinderace. It is locked on a Pyro Ball, and at that point, it's... But the thing is, this Chen-Pao is just going to be able to knock out whatever you have. Hyper Offense is such a good format, good core this format, and we are going to see Terra. This is Terra Dark on Urshifu. Okay, there's one way that Oscar can win this. Sucker Punch onto Cinderace. You know it's going to do a lot of damage. It's fragile. There is that Sucker Punch coming out. At that point, if you could break the Chen-Pao Sash, it's going to be a 50-50. It is enough to one-hit KO the Cinderace, so this is not over yet. The Chen-Pao, if it called right and hit the... actually, it does the Tailwind coming out. Ooh, I think that may have... Oh, it's going to be very close. Sacred Sword coming out onto the... This is a Terra Dark Sacred Sword, or Terra Stellar Boost Dark Sacred Sword. I think Jesus has got this. I don't think there's any way that Oscar can pick this one up at this point. You just go for... Yeah, because Ice Spinner's going to hit 100%, and it is super effective. You're basically banking that the Chen-Pao does not want to hit KO your Tornadus. And at that point, it's... You just got to click Bleak Windstorm X2, but it's not going to be enough. And Jesus, I think, is going to be able to pick this one up. Oh, did not go for a Sucker Punch, which is fine. And... Actually, it didn't really matter, like I said. It is Covert Cloak, it's not Rocky Helmet on Tornadus, so your Focus Sash, the worst case scenario is you get hit and you get broken. Your Sash is broken, but you survive it. And so, yeah, you know what I really liked about Jesus playing there, and I think it's something it's so important with Cinderace right now to understand the calculations on it if you're playing against it, and no one really has run Cinderace this entire format, and that is one of the most important things when you play a Pokemon that is just absolutely makes your opponent question, how much damage does this do? You can take some really, really nice knockouts, and actually it's something I like doing. I love playing unusual Pokemon, and I love seeing unusual Pokemon, and I think honestly right now, the meta is calling for unusual Pokemon to rise up, as we saw very recently with a Snowcloak Articuno that just won a major tournament. I mean, it's one of those things where, and it was a 4 ice attack moves. Stuff like that is what's really climbing the meta. The usual teams are not going to be placing as high. Sure, you'll still get some in there, but the ones that are really shining are stuff like Cinderace, Articuno, and all these really unusual Pokemon that just don't have as much time to shine as you think they would. And I'm loving seeing Cinderace do so much work. It one-hit KO'd that Ogerpon, which was amazing. I do think Oscar could have Terra'd that Ogerpon to water for a pretty safe knockout. And I think if you are Oscar right now, you're thinking, okay, once I get rid of the Amoonguss, I can just Terra to water and take hits. I can take hits from Cinderace, I can take hits from Chien-Pao, because the best it can do on me would be maybe Sucker Punch, and I'll bulk, as long as I'm bulky, I can take it. And then I resist the Tornadus. I do not think we're going to see a switch out in which Pokemon that Jesus brought. I think, honestly, I think Urshifu's a little risky, and I think for a draft is just a bit slow for having to play hyper offense here. Wouldn't also be surprised to see for a draft though on Oscar's side just to reverse the tailwinds, but we are going to see Urshifu and Tornadus lead with Cinderace and Tornadus. So a little different. We're going to see the Hisuian and Arcanine swap out instead for this Urshifu as the lead on Oscar's side. Same lead as last game as for Jesus. I think it's the right four, you know, for Jesus. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little swap out on Oscar's side, because I think the Hisuian Arcanine just kind of went down to a high jump kick, and it would still take hefty damage. The Intimidate did not matter with the Cinderace. I think you really just gotta get rid of the Cinderace before anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that Terra Dark Sucker Punch come out on Cinderace again. So maybe a swap for Jesus. I know we're just going to see instant Terra. I believe this is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be that Terra Dark, yeah. So the play at the moment, and because we know that this can one-hit KO Cinderace, it's going to be, I think your Cinderace is just kind of in a bad spot. This is going to one-hit KO it. We saw it happen in the last match. I don't think anything's going to change. Oh, okay. There was I take that back. We're going to see taunt from Oscar's Tornadus, and that is going to taunt Jesus' Tornadus. That's big. Cinderace is going to go for a U-turn, which turns it into Bug-type for a single turn. And the super effective damage knocks the Urshifu to Focus Sash, but you know what? When you're running Urshifu that's most likely max attack, max speed, it does not matter. You want to keep hitting as much as you can. Now the thing for Jesus is, do you have... It's the Sucker Punch off, right? So I think honestly the best play for Oscar right now, knowing what's on the field, bring out your Hisuian Arcanine, intimidate that. Oh, we're gonna see the Bleakwind Storm, by the way. Just pick up the knockout. There was not we did not. That's right, we did not see the Tornadus play yet. It is taunted, so it has to go for a Bleakwind Storm, but a really good play there from Jesus to predict that. Okay, so now I think it's actually not a terrible spot for Oscar, regardless, if the Flutter Mane is in play. You can go ahead and just there it is. So you boost your energy with Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, etc. That's good. The question now becomes the Terra Stellar. You did burn your Terra turn 1, which Cinderace's bulk was really impressive there. It is booster special. You do not outspeed Chien-Pao. Do you have enough bulk to take the hit? Because I think you can double knockout right now. It's really going to come down to these last couple Pokemon. I think the path to victory is just getting rid of these two. And honestly, I think if you're Oscar, you see you outspeed Jesus's Pokemon. The question now becomes who gets targeted with the Chien-Pao. And it's Terra Stellar, so it's going to do some damage. I think you Tailwind Dazzling Gleam here, or take the risk, and actually I wouldn't even be surprised. Tailwind Swap one out into Hisuian Arcanine, but we are going to see that Terra Stellar return for the Chien-Pao. Yeah, Jesus just controlling this game with these damage outputs shows you that hyper offense is such a really good play in this format. Cinderace just comes out and nukes things, and then U-turns out. Ice Spinner gonna come out. This is Terra boosted. It connects with the Tornadus. A little surprising there, but not terrible. Pun completely not intended. The only issue is this Flutter, right? With the Dazzling Gleam, it does really little into the Amoonguss, and Chien-Pao takes it because of its obvious Focus Sash. So I think right now, Ogerpon being the last one is it's better, I'd say, because this Amoonguss can't really do anything, and you are free to hit the left side. It does have a Chien-Pao does have a protect. I personally think you dual protect here. I think you dual protect. I think wasting the Terra on the Urshifu Dark was just a really, really brutal move, because it did not knock out the Cinderace. Getting rid of the Cinderace would have been awesome for Oscar's side. But we're gonna see Ice Spinner connect. This is gonna connect with the Flutter Mane. It's not boosted, so it does take a hit. That's actually really important. The Dazzling Gleam going to be able to pick up the knockout on Chien-Pao, but Amoonguss can't really do all that much. Can't touch it, really. You can touch it with Shadow Ball, but you're gonna have to really hope for the best, because it's still bulky and has a Citrus Berry. We do see a Horn Leech from Ogerpon. It is gonna connect with the Amoonguss. It does about 13 damage. About, like, less than 5% or so. And the Pollen Puff returns on the Ogre Pawn, which actually is very, very, very important. And here is why. That... Okay, Cinderace coming out is very interesting. It now becomes a game of speed. I think you have to go for the follow me. Does the Dazzling Gleam outspeed Cinderace? If it does, you follow me, and then at that point it's Tornadus. You may pick this one up. I think right now you have to... Flutter Mane gonna protect. I'm a little surprised at that, actually. I thought you kind of have to just follow me and hope for the best. But we are gonna see Spiky Shield, so if this Cinderace does connect with the Ogre Pawn, it may knock itself out. But Jesus still in a really good spot here. Cinderace does U-turn. It is bug type, so Dazzling Gleam not going to resist, but I think it was in KO range anyways. The U-turn connecting does not KO the Cinderace. That's important. And Spore comes out for Amoonguss onto the Flutter Mane slot. Okay, with that in mind, you have to just do exactly what I said, which is you follow me in Dazzling Gleam. It's still going to be a tough matchup for you. You could actually also, I think, you have to. You have no choice at this point if you're Oscar. This is not a good defensive typing combo to have against Cinderace and Amoonguss. It's just brutal because you're able to U-turn out. We know it's going to U-turn out. Which, you know what, then the play could be to just go for a hit onto... I still think you Rage Powder here, though. Not Rage Powder. You go for Follow Me on the Ogre Pawn because you really got to keep your Flutter Mane up. It's going to go for the Cinderace goes first, does pick up the knockout on Ogre Pawn. I think that just seals the deal for Jesus there. I do not think that this Flutter Mane at 30 HP-ish, roughly, is going to be 30% HP, is going to be able to pick up a knockout on this Tornadus and Amoonguss. And especially because we know that the Cinderace outspent. Cinderace is such an underrated Pokemon. No one expects it. This is Dazzling Gleam going to connect, doesn't do half to Tornadus, and it does break Amoonguss to half, but that's gonna do it, I think. If this Amoonguss spores, it's pretty much game over. And there it is. That was Oscar's last Pokemon, if I am not mistaken here. And that is, I believe, just going to finish it here. At this point, you basically just, you Pollen Puff, heal up your Tornadus. The battle's canceled. Jesus Coromel takes the win. What an intense match. I mean, one thing I want to point out, that Jesus is very comfortable with this team. That is such a blessing in Pokemon, a lunar blessing, because it is the most important thing. If you're comfortable with your team, you know how it functions. If you know how it functions, then you know how to beat stuff. And if the opposing team doesn't know how your team functions, like Cinderace and Hyper Offense in Jesus's case, then they're not going to be able to prep for it right, and it's going to hurt them, as we just saw. I think a real good example of that was that Terra Dark Urshifu not being able to pick up the Sucker Punch knockout on the Cinderace. It was able to just knock it down to about 30%, and because Cinderace was able to stay up, it was able to come in and put so much offensive pressure on the last two Pokemon of Oscar's, and Jesus stayed in, knew the calc, and was ready to rock. So Jesus now 3-1, I believe Oscar 2-2. So we may see both of these players back in top cut. You're going to want to stick around to see who makes it, because round 5, our last Swiss round, is coming up right after this.